And so we reached the European League section of the season. 4 Welsh games, 3 losses, 1 win. None of it went the way we wanted to, but all that and more, and everything coming up for the following week. How's that going to work? Big teams, small teams, all sorts of crazy stuff. And if anyone can actually work out how the European League system works, then do drop us a line. All that and more coming up on this week's wrap. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Wrap Podcast with me, Lee G. Joining me, as always, Harley, Jamie, and James. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It makes a nice change to be able to say congratulations, James, on a victory over the weekend. It's been a while since we've been able to say Ospreys was the only one to win on the weekend.
Careful now. He who's in glass houses should not throw rather large stones.
I'm congratulating you. I'm saying, well done for finally getting a win.
Look, it's near Christmas. Ospreys always have a purple patch over Christmas. This is law.
Lee, I don't think you should get too excited about the Ospreys winning it, Parker Scarlets, over the next few weeks.
Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Don't play Ospreys. Ospreys don't play Scarlets or Parker Scarlets till later on in the year. Just like to point this out.
But they do play better at Parker Scarlets, so the merger rumours are obviously rife, which we'll discuss later. So, Jamie, kick us off with... no, actually, before we start off, I just want to show everyone my jumper, because I know this is my Christmas jumper with dragons on. I just wanted to show that off because that's fucking awesome.
That's great for the audio listeners. That's going to go down
great radio.
Yeah. For the audio listeners,
better than the radio last year when it was just us blankly watching clips of it on a statutory screen.
Yeah, that didn't work. That got cut out. If you listen to last week's pod, there's a bit that goes, right, let's watch the clips. They were good. Okay, move it. And there's like a whole 5-minute section where it's gone out. I couldn't get it to work. So it did take me a while. But for the audio listeners, it's a Christmas jumper. It is a Christmas jumper, but it's got Welsh Dragons on as well. I've got 2 or 3 of them that are all like Welsh Dragons Christmas jumpers. Everybody needs one of these. These are brilliant.
Lee doesn't want to tell you about his politics, but I think we can guess which way he leans on Welsh independence.
Let's avoid politics at all costs. Right, Jamie, give us the week's news then, my friend.
Okay, news. So, Kingsley Jones's time at Rugby Canada has finally come to an end after 7 painful years. Rugby Canada confirmed a mutual parting of the ways had taken place, with both parties agreeing that the team needed to be taken in a new direction. Jones won just 14 of his 48 tests in charge, and Canada failed to qualify for the World Cup for the first time in their history back in 2023. I think first thing to say is, look, Rugby Canada has a lot of structural problems. I don't think you can pin it all on Kingsley, but he was a big part of the problem. Secondly, if I hear any of you or anyone on social media say Kingsley Jones will return to the Dragons or Wales, you can fuck right off, because I've already had these texts, I've had these jokes. It's not funny, it's not big, it's not clever, so stop it. Stop it right now.
When we put that news on the WhatsApp group, James, what were the first 3 messages that got posted after Kingsley Jones has left Canada? At least 2 of them were, I've heard he's on his way to the Dragons, and then there was a gap, and then there was Kingsley Jones to the Dragons. So I don't think you're going to be able to escape it for a while, mate.
And I told you to F off straight away, didn't I? Because I knew you'd be onto it. It was either going to be you, Harley, or James, and I'm nipping in the bud now. Anyone seriously suggesting a return to Ronnie Praith and Kingsley Jones or Wales? I've seen people even suggesting Kingsley Jones for Wales. I go, no, stop it. It's not funny. Dragons doing enough shit as it is. We don't need Kingsley coming back. Bless him.
When Canada said they want to take the team in a different direction, I think what they mean by that is a successful one where they win games and qualify for tournaments. I think that's what they're referring to. I don't think he can complain in any way, shape, or form about being booted. It didn't work.
I think a lot of people would say that this is 2 years later than it should have been. Like he should have gone when they failed to qualify for the Rugby World Cup. It's not to talk about, say, the teams they lost to, like Chile, global aren't good teams. It's just the fact that you could see it happening. You could tell they were going to lose, and the results were just steadily getting worse. I mean, it says something when probably one of the best players they produced in the pro era in Total Ardron didn't play. Basically,
This was my point. He's not
Yeah, I
playing.
know. You and Robbie mentioned this on the area where it broke live, and it was like how it turned from a depressing pod into quite a nice cathartic pod. Hearing people moan about Kingsley Jones. Yeah, like when you've got all these top players going, no, I don't want to play for him. That says there's a lot wrong. I mean, yes, there are structural problems. I mean, like the collapse of Toronto Arrows is a huge example of that, but. Yeah, it was just shit. Like, I don't want to be mean to people. I don't want people to necessarily lose their jobs. But if you're fucking incompetent, off you fuck.
But you don't be mean, Harley, about it.
I don't want to be, but I'm going to be.
Off sitting on the fence and tell us what you really feel, Ollie. Jamie, what else have we got, mate?
Yeah, so all the best to Kings. I'm sure you'll find a new job in rugby pretty soon. In other news then, Ollie Griffiths has announced his retirement from rugby on medical grounds with immediate effect. Quite sad news, this. Griffiths made 105 appearances for the Dragons. He did play one international for Wales against Tonga in Auckland back in June 2017. And he also represented Wales in an uncapped match against the Barbarians in November 2019 in Cardiff. His final appearance for the Dragons came against the Sharks back in January 2024, and he will now hang up his boots due to medical reasons. I've often said that Ollie is the most unluckiest player in Welsh rugby. With the amount of injuries, he just kept picking up. He was cursed, poor bloke. I would honestly put him up there with Sam Warburton, and Justin Tipuric if he stayed fit. I honestly believe he was that good. But unfortunately, his career was constantly dogged by injuries. I feel really sorry for him. Brilliant player when fit. He was just really fit. And people say, oh, it's not a surprise. Well, no, but it's still pretty sad, because when he was fit and firing, he made the Dragons a better team. He single-handedly kept us in games. It's a real shame it's turned out this way, but that is the nature of rugby. It's a brutal sport, isn't it?
Especially nowadays, the intensity of the game now and the physicality of the game now, it doesn't take much to get in, particularly when you're in the forwards or a loose forward and he's quite an abrasive player anyway. He doesn't mind getting his head stuck into places where it probably shouldn't be. So he's going to pick up those, like you say, like Warburton. Warburton picked up way too many injuries, and that's what did him in the end. And same for Ollie. So, shame.
Yeah, it really is a shame.
Old school is old school in the best type of way. Probably the last of that Warburton-esque sevens you'll see.
Yeah.
In that he's fucking massive, abrasive, all these things that were turn-ons for coaches in that era. But I just think his body just could not handle what he wanted to do. It's such a shame. Great, he's been awarded a testimonial year, though.
Yes, I think that's a good move for the club. Absolutely, that's quite right. But I honestly believe, had he stayed fit, we could have been talking about him in the same bracket as Warburton and Tip. He was that good, but just a shame.
When he came through under 20s, he basically just everyone pegged him, and actually looked kind of like Warburton as well. But that's what everyone was seeing was, oh, here we've got the natural successor to Sam Warburton. And I mean, arguably better than Sam Warburton because he had a really good carrying game, which is probably the one weakness Warburton had.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, sad news. So all the best to Ollie in his retirement. Right, so in other news then, Shane Lewis-Hughes has had his finger amputated. Lewis-Hughes elected to go under the knife to help overcome a long-standing finger issue. So the 27-year-old has had his ring finger on his right hand amputated to just above the base knuckle, following several years having to manage severe issues with his hand. He's going to be out of action for about a month, which, obviously isn't great timing for the Dragons with these, European fixtures and festive derbies coming up. But, he's in a lot of pain. He needs to get it done. I just didn't see that coming. Okay, it was a bit of a shock when I saw the video on social media. Apparently, if he didn't get it done, he was in risk of, he was told he had to retire. And if he'd left it any longer, he could have lost his hand or even his arm. It's really, really serious. Yeah, bit of a shock of that. But, he's only going to be out for a month, so it's not too bad, I guess.
So my uncle had that done. My uncle caught his finger in a work press, and he had it amputated just above there. And then he'd just constantly walk around and do that all the time. So, and he'd be able to stuff his whole finger kind of like up his nose like that. I just said it was disgusting. But yeah,
I bet you
gotta
loved it as
find
a
life.
small child.
Yeah, I was a teenager, and you'd be like, Nicky, what? Go on, finger, what? Up like that. A great laugh, especially when you're drunk. Anyway, yeah, sorry, I digress.
No worries. In other news, then, shall we talk about this new professional rugby agreement that's been doing the rounds in the news? So, over the next couple of weeks, the WRU hope to agree this new 5-year professional rugby agreement with the 4 regions. Now, nothing has been signed yet, and there's a bit of back and forth over certain elements of the deal, but reports are saying that the deal is moving closer. So what's in this deal there? So the WRU would take the Welsh Government debt off the clubs in return for a non-controlling equity stake in all 4 sides. The debt they put onto the regions, so they're going to take it away, which is nice of them, isn't it? It's really nice. It was never our debt, but they're going to take it away from us, which is nice. If agreed, the new deal will see the WRU distribute over 120 million to the 4 professional clubs over the next 5 years, which is actually an increase on the current deal. However, the funding directors at all 4 regions, the benefactors, they have to put in 22 million between them over the next 5 years. So there's still a heavy reliance on the benefactors at the clubs having to put a lot of money in, which is quite ironic. If you remember in the Martin Phillips years, they were trying to move away from benefactors at WRU, didn't they? They didn't want them in the picture. Now they very much want them back in the picture. So I find that quite ironic. So if this new deal is signed, the WRU will want influence over overseas signings, which, to be fair, they already have. They'll have a say over the squad's composition with regards to the number of homegrown and overseas players. Again, I think that's already in place. They want influence over S&C programs, and the union would also have a say if a Welsh team appointed a new head coach or director of rugby, which, as you remember, it did not end well when the WRU appointed Bernard Jackman as Dragons coach. But anyway, they would want a say in those appointments. They'd also want to request to clubs the playing positions and minutes of players of national interest, whilst also requesting clubs that a player of national interest should move to another Welsh club if it is in the best interest of the national side, although the final decision lies with the player. So if the clubs actually agree to this, they would get extra funding. So for example, at Cardiff, say, Jacob Beetham, he's behind Cameron. If the WRU and Gatland say, well, he needs to move, we want him to get in regular rugby, he needs to go to the Dragons. That could happen, but the player has to agree with it. And if the club agrees to it, if the player agrees to it, they would get extra funding for that. But he doesn't have to go. So it's that sort of scenario, really.
Just to go in that situation, which club gets the extra funding? Is it the Cardiff for letting go of the player, or is it the Dragons for taking in the player?
Well, it just says here, if the clubs agree to this, they would get extra funding. So it's not specified. It doesn't really specify. I mean, that's the devil in the detail, isn't it? That's what we need to see first. I'm just reading this off a report, so it's difficult at the moment to know what's in the detail. But I've just used that sort of scenario where, if a player's not getting regular game time, Gatland says, well, look, he needs to be moving to another club to get game time, then that's probably going to happen. But the player does have to agree to it. So if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't have to, but then the clubs will get compensation for it. So those are the main talking points there what I've mentioned. You guys could now chip in and tell me what you think of this deal so far then.
Well, I think the only bit that worries me is the controlling the minutes that people play and how that's used. Like you say, it's in the detail, but do you, when you want your big players for your big games, and if those big games happen to fall just before the Six Nations, our big players getting pulled. It's stuff like that you kind of go, it's all well and good for most of the season, but there are certain times when you want your internationals on the pitch, and are they going to get pulled? So it depends how it's applied. In principle, I don't think that there's really much to complain about. In all honesty, I don't. I think a lot of people want to find things to complain about, but it depends on how it's implemented, how much control the WRU and the head coach, whoever that head coach may be, has over players. Is it moving players or playing players, or I want Jordan Williams playing at 10. Yeah. So
That's not a very good example at all. You know that's a silly example. Come on now. I used a perfectly good example, didn't I? With Jacob Beaver going to the Dragons. Now you're being silly. A player of national interest.
But
Jesus
you know what I
Christ.
mean, yeah. It's if they turn around and they start putting players in places where let's use Yohan Lloyd. Yeah, if they turn around and they say, right, we want to put Yohan Lloyd at 15, and he's got to play at 15, and where Scarlets have been kind of bringing him on as a 10, but Gatland or whatever says, no, I want to see him at 15. And you're like, well, actually, no, that's our backup 10. What do we do? I think that's when it comes down, that's when it'll start hitting the fan. But other than that, I don't have a problem with the rest of it. James Harvey, anything to chip in?
I mean,
Go on, Harley, you go
go,
first.
I was going to say, we're probably going to say fairly similar things because I think when we both discussed it on our regular Central and Ospreys respectively, I think we had fairly similar points of one, it's and Jamie alluded to then as well. One, it's a bit shitty that they're trying to address it, taking away their debt as a kindness to give us money to the money that they're supposed to be giving us for player release and pathway development. The big one for me is that there's an awful lot about like punishing teams for not getting this thing. So the funding they're talking about is the 100% figure, and they're basically saying 80% that's guaranteed. That other 20% is providing you do what we say effectively. And they say, oh well, the clubs have got to have agreement, but they can say, well, you didn't agree to it, so we're not giving you the money. And there's things like, they unless there's assurances for things like, say with Yohan Lloyd, Sam Costello gets injured, Yohan Lloyd's your 10. But if W said no, he's got to play at 15. Well, we haven't got another, are they going to turn around and say, no, you could have played Charlie Titcombe at 10, even though he's had 13 minutes at pro rugby, and we want to see Yohan Lloyd, and keep Yohan Lloyd? Well, that's not going to benefit either player.
What I will say with
worse
that
off for it.
I don't think they're going to be that pedantic.
The problem is I've seen, with what I've seen with the WRU, I don't trust them not to be that pedantic.
No, my issue is I think the main crux of the agreement is fine, right? I think it's nothing that we haven't seen before. Deal contracts had much more control over players. I think the crux of it is fine. I just don't trust this current regime to implement it properly. With things like player minutes, right? I think, well, that's controlled anyway to a certain point. If you're a player of national interest now, or you're a current Wales squad member, your minutes are managed. Right? Your minutes are managed per union contract, not as in a WRU contract, as in your players' union. Right? So you have enforced rest. So all the time I've been banging on about Ben Thomas at Cardiff playing loads and loads and loads of minutes, he had to be rested against Leon. It's exactly the same as Dewi Lake, Gareth Thomas saying he didn't come back in against Zebra. Right? Instead they were rested and have come in here. So yeah, I don't trust the current regime to implement what they're saying properly and get the best out of what seems to be a generally not fully positive PRA.
I think that's it, though. At the minute, it's still details to be decided and all of this, that, and the other. I think that there is. I don't think you're the only one that doesn't trust certain people inside the WRU to not abuse the trust, but do you know what I mean? It wouldn't be done fairly. It wouldn't be implemented fairly, and we'd have the excuse of, well, we want to turn Team Wales around. So you can just see it because we've had it before, because we've been there before, and national interest trops your club interest. Sometimes I don't think it does. Sometimes I think we got to kind of go the other way. So yes. Anyway, yeah, there he is. So back to you, Jamie. Anything else on the news desk that you want to throw in or add in there, old chap?
No, that's it from me. I don't have anything else unless you guys want to bring something
one
up.
bit of Wales women news, which we'll probably go into detail, but it's just that Wales women have announced they're going to do a summer tour before their World Cup campaign in a 2-match series to Australia.
There we go.
Because they haven't played anyone else
Yeah,
at all.
yeah. They're not allowed to play anyone else. Yeah. This will make so by the time they play them in the World Cup pool, that will be 5 times in 12 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's the issue with women's rugby at the minute is that teams are too imbalanced in their standings. So it's probably right that they're playing Australia. It's just irritating that we're playing them again so close.
Yeah, but it's not like teams like USA, Canada, the Netherlands are actually doing quite well, or Spain. Like these are teams that we're not playing in our actual pool, and we don't end up with the same thing as WXV, where basically, the Australia coach went, yeah, we held back to see what Wales are going to do in that warm up, and then we rearranged our game plan for the next game against them.
It's just a ploy to get Alex Callender near the Lions. That's all it is, right? She'll be playing for the Lions. Fuck Josh van der Fleer. All right.
Let's be fair, she's better than any men's 7, I reckon.
I've got some news. Came out the press conference last night, post Lions game, that Ospreys are in the process. That might be a done deal already, but bringing in a short-term replacement lock for Adam Beard.
This is a terrible way to find out Rory Thornton's going back home.
It's not Rory. The name I've been sent is not Rory Thornton, and if it is, I would send him back. No, the name that's been sent to me is a very much a workmanlike veteran of the English game.
Is it Charlie Ewels?
No, it's not. I did check. It's not. I won't reveal the name until I get it confirmed. But
I know that, but I'm just going to keep going locks that I know you definitely do not like.
And no, it's not Morgan Jones either.
Is this new section of the pod called Guess the Player, where we just got to throw random names at you and just see until you go?
If you want to hear
yes.
a similar feature, go to Osprey's Diary and listen to #GoodPlayer.
Right. So, anybody else got any news? Nothing. Cool. Okay. Let's move on then to reviews from last weekend. So, Dragons were up first. Jamie, with hosting Montpellier.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
We did a deep dive on Dragon's Lair yesterday. It was quite a cathartic experience, actually, the 3 of us having a good old mo. It was quite funny because it was quite downbeat and critical, and yet we had a really good laugh when we was doing it. Because I think now it's got to a stage where if you don't laugh, you'll cry. That's how I feel at the moment. I think the first thing to say is horrendous conditions. Storm Dara really did take hold. Credit to those who turned up. I couldn't actually go to this game because my wife had a Christmas do, so I had to stay at home and look after our child, which I was perfectly fine with given how bad the weather was. I was quite happy having a pizza and watching in the warm and dry. So it was a horrible game, very difficult conditions for both sides. But Dragons started really sloppily. And I think that game was lost in the opening 20 minutes. Dragons really struggled to adapt to the conditions, really soft tries. And then you're climbing a mountain from there on in. To be fair, we did show a lot of character to come back from 18-0 down. It looked like it was going to get very ugly at one point. I can't question the effort in the team. I just don't think the quality and the confidence is there at the moment. But it's just really disappointing, I think, because it just shows the continued themes of the season, which is a lack of execution, a lack of game intelligence. We go into the sheds, we're only 14-18 down. Dragons had the wind on their back in the second half, but we didn't score any points at all. I just think that shows you what a poor side we are. We had numerous opportunities to win that game. We was constantly in Montpellier's 22. We battered away. No joy, no avail. I just thought the decision making yet again was poor. I know Fiatiti has come out and said that the players were selfish. I kind of understand what he means. I don't think it was selfish. I just think it was a lack of nous and game management. I mean, I just don't know where the Dragons go from here now. I mean, that's 7 consecutive defeats for the Dragons since their opening URC win against the Ospreys, and that feels like a very long time ago, doesn't it? We're rock bottom of the URC. We've got the worst gain line success of the top 5 pro clubs in Europe. We've got the lowest percentage of dominant carries. There's a real lack of confidence in this Dragons team, a lack of leadership. It's just really difficult to see where we go from here now. You look at the fixtures, and they say this almost every season now, but I really don't know where the next win is coming from. It's tough, but I just can't see a way that we can turn this around because the players just look mentally shot. The confidence isn't there. We had Gareth on with us last night. He's a very optimistic Dragon supporter, but even he is saying that there's a lack of belief on the terraces and there's a lack of belief in the players as well. So it's another butchered opportunity. It's the same old story, isn't it? It's just deeply frustrating.
I think the difference is, I think you're right. It's confidence is people massively underestimate how important confidence is on a rugby pitch, but
Yeah.
you're not getting battered. Do you know what I mean? Like you say, you come in close and turning it from a few close losses into a few close wins will make a massive difference for confidence. Yes, it will, but it isn't that far away. Yeah, and that's, I think that's a disappointing thing listening to Dragon supporters, and I totally get why it feels like it is, but actually it isn't that far away. And I think if you can sneak a couple, you might get a dodgy decision here, there, and just get over the line at some point, and things will start happening. Because I genuinely don't think it's that far away for the Dragons. It's stringing all of the good bits together for 80 minutes. It's a game management confidence, but if you can string all of your good bits together and keep that going for 80 minutes, you've demonstrated that you're perfectly capable of it. So
we are competitive, and like I said, you can't question the effort of the players. I don't think that's the issue here. It's just a severe lack of confidence and the inability to execute when in the red zone. The problem is this is happening now every single week, and we hear players come out and say we need to be more clinical. We'll take the learnings, but they're not learning. They're still not being clinical, and they're making really dull decisions on the field. And again, that stems from a lack of leadership and a lack of confidence. So I don't know how Fia Tia addresses this. I don't know, how do you turn this around? It's just like I said, I honestly don't know where we go from here. I think it's going to be another grim season for the Dragons, because if they lose at Newcastle, which I think they will this weekend, that season done now. We're scrapping to avoid the bottom yet again, but this is happening every single season. It's this cycle, isn't it, of failure, and it's just really, really depressing. And it's the same old story until the players learn to execute in the 22. They're creating opportunities, but they're not taking them. And until they learn to do that, they're not going to win games. They're just going to keep losing every week. But I do think, though, there are some systemic and deep-rooted issues in the Dragons as well, to go along with that. So it's not an easy, it's not an easy time at the Dragons, to be honest. And like you said, Lee, yeah, a win will breed confidence, but where's the next win coming from? Because when I look at the fixture list, I honestly don't know where the next win is coming from. No idea.
I hate to say it, but Judgment Day is early this year, and you always give us a torrid time at fucking Judgment Day. So maybe we start the season with Judgment Day, and that kicks your season off in a right royal style. You can bank on beating Scarlets at Judgment Day. And
they've tried that. They've tried that with the Ospreys. Yeah, I haven't watched the game, but just having a quick flew through all the different stats, and I said 89% possession in the last 10 minutes, not a point scored. It's
no.
I mean, I've only seen highlights of it, but it just seems, again, as Jamie says, you're just not converting. I mean, I'll be honest, it wasn't a particularly good scoring game. I think even I think Dragons were like 1.9 points per entry, and Montpellier were like 2.6. But the problem was they had the entries, post contact meters as well. Like, they're just not making the penetration. It seems like it. I mean, I know Gav mentioned it on Dragons there as well. It seems like if you haven't got Tame Basham carrying the ball, there's no one else who's trucking it up.
They've got no ball carrier, have we? And it's like I said on Dragon Slayer, right? Those last 10 minutes, in particular, last 5 minutes, we were hammering away, right, in the 22. At no point did I ever think we were going to get over the line, even though we were 5 meters out in those last seconds. Because Montpellier's defence, to be fair, was pretty good. We were getting knocked back. We were not making any yardage. We were never looking like we were getting over the gain line. I watched it and I thought, we are not going to win this. I thought this will either end with a knock on or turnover. And lo and behold, it ended with a knock on. But also that decision, by the way, where they win a penalty and you're thinking, right, kick it to the corner now. You're 5 meters out. Montpellier were giving away more penalties. That would have been the sensible option. But what do? We do a tap and go. No, why? Why? This is the decision making that me and Gav are talking about. Why would you do a tap and go when you're not getting over the gain line? You're getting smashed back every time. It's so dull. It's really poor decision making. And I'm afraid that stems from Angus. Angus is the captain. It was a really bad decision. But I just think there's a lack of leaders all over the pitch as well. There's a lack of confidence and a lack of leadership.
I'm going to say this line once again: fullback shouldn't be captain.
Well, I think it should. I think captain should always be forwards, personally. But
Back 5 forward usually. Sometimes the hooker, if he goes 80.
Yeah, Ian Evans was a very good captain from the wing. I will say that.
In
Ian
Wales's
Evans.
worst era.
Yeah. And just as a man manager, and the problem we had back then was everyone would try and they'd be taking tap penalties and they'd be doing stupid stuff all over the park. And by the time it took him to come in from the wing to come and tell someone to kick for touch, everybody kind of calmed down a little. So it kind of worked. It did what it needed to do.
One thing, though, the astonishing number of kicks in this game as well. So Dragons did 48 and Montpellier 37. It's just,
why wouldn't you?
Wow, that's definitely the conditions. It was just like,
yeah, there was a storm
so
outside, mate. They had to kick. Yeah, they had to kick.
But that was my thing. I was just there looking at that and looking at like the kick to pass ratio. And I went, I'm still surprised it's as high as 1.1 to 2.5, one kick to every 2.5 passes.
And they won the kicking battle as well, Montpellier. Their fullback, I can't remember his name. He was very, very good. He played the conditions perfectly. So, we lost the kicking battle as well.
See, I played a game once. It was his youth. That's how long ago it was. Fishguard away. Right now, Fishguard away pitch is right next to the port, and it kind of comes in the valley, and the wind blows straight down the pitch. And I shit you not, we were on their 5-yard line. The outside half hoofed the ball up in the air. It bounced once on the 10-yard line, once in our 22 and went dead. It fucking fly out. And everyone stood there going like, what are we doing? And this is before the whole thing about having the scrum back where you kicked it from. We were looking at it and go like, fucking hell, we got to run all the way back down there now and then kick it back into the wind. So windy games. Right, let's move on to Bayonne and Scarlets. So I'm going to be honest, I had every intention of watching this game twice today. I'd set aside time in work and then people phoned me and then I had to go and do stuff and then I had to put Christmas lights up at the front and all sorts of stuff. So I've only managed to watch the highlights and have a couple of conversations with Scarlet supporters about it. I think we're the other way around to the Dragons. I think we got too much confidence. We think we can just kind of run everything now and something's just going to happen. I've seen the penalty, the last penalty, which I mean it's bollocks, but it is.
No. It's not. It's consistent.
It's bollocks.
No.
And you know that.
Consistent.
Hang on, you'll get your chance in a minute.
I haven't had a chance to talk all pod yet, so hurry up.
Yeah, and it's coming in a minute. So I just think we lost that game in the first kind of 20 minutes, in all honesty, and we were fighting back. And, we did fight back well. And whatever you want to say, James, about penalties and how much Bayonne fucked up and all that kind of stuff, the fact is they still only beat us by one dodgy penalty at the end of the game. And against a top, I think they're 5th in the French Pro 14.
They're not a top team, they're 5th.
Well, fucking look at the record so far this year, mate. You would bite your hand off at that at the start of the season. So I said at the start of the season, if we were playing well when we got to Europe, I was all in favour of like not bothering with Europe. And this is almost like the worst possible result where we should have won. If we'd have got battered, we'd have gone, right, okay, drop Europe. Let's just focus on the league. Let's throw everything at the league, keep players fresh, keep players ready. Let's just focus on the league. Kind of coming close, kind of winning, showing that we can compete against the big boys is a, it says now, actually, we've got to maintain that through Europe now. And I think we're going to pick up injuries. I think we're gonna end up going, we'll start missing key players and what have you. What it does show is the squad is building. There is depth there this year, which there wasn't last year, where we can make 7 or 8 changes and actually still compete, which is something that we weren't doing last year. So it is what it is. I think there's still a couple of areas where we haven't got that depth and we still need to improve on that depth. Front row, for example, but markedly improved on where it was before. Having said that, we're playing Black Lion this weekend, and Black Lion beat Van. So they're on an upper. We're kind of on an upper. The feeling is still good. The feeling is still positive. There is frustration about game management within the last 5-10 minutes, but yeah, I'm not that bothered. I'm looking at the league and I'm going, okay, this is developing players for the league. I think we've still got a long way to go to develop the depth that we need to when we need to compete at the top. But I'm not that bothered about picking up a losing bonus point away in France. So that's my piece on that. Now you get to have a go at the Scarlets, James. Go on. You've been gagging
the penalty is not. The penalty wasn't bollocks, right? The penalty is a stone cold penalty by letter of the law, right? You cannot just. He played the 9, is what he's done. What it was an overreaction. The referee's been consistent because at half time, because I actually watched the game, I fucking put myself through this shit.
Did you pay for it? Did you pay to watch it?
I watched the game. At half time.
Yes. We know how you've been watching it, boy.
At half time.
At half time,
I believe
you still hadn't paid for the game.
I believe it was the ball was kicked into the area. Tom Rogers and the Bayonne player went to both dab it down. The Bayonne player got it first, and sort of Tom Rogers came over the top of the Scarlets player and sort of landed on his head. It was innocuous. They were both going for the ball. So it would have been a 22... a goal line dropout to end the game, to end the half, pretty much. And Camille Lopez, being Camille Lopez, overreacts and started pushing and causing a scuffle. So the referee reversed the decision, gave a penalty, right? So the referee set a stall out to say that anything like that is going to result in a penalty. What the young Scarlets tight had done, I think it's Archer Holtz, is it?
Yeah.
He's done that. He's pushed the Australia.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
He's pushed. He's played the 9, which is a penalty in any sense of it. But he's also pushed the 9 right over. That is a penalty in every sense because
every Ospreys book. That's
no. Because Lee, if that happened to you, right, you'd be writing to the king, right? You'd be.
How many times has happened and it's not been called? Like but
it was called. This is the thing.
What I've said,
you can't say it's a
I
dodgy penalty when the ref's not consistent. The ref was consistent about it.
That's nowhere near a penalty.
What about the other 17 Scarlets conceded?
This is the other thing. You gave away 17 penalties.
Yeah, and I'm not complaining about that. I was saying that even with all of that stuff, we were still well within that game at the end.
That's brilliant from a Scarlets point of view. But you also set the record.
I'm glad we agree on that.
You also were part of the record being set for the most defenders beaten ever for a single player,
and we still ended up in a position where we should have won that game at the very end.
Yes, but you're falling into the trap of Cardiff last season. Nobody cares if you should have won a game or not. You didn't win the game. This is what I spent all of last season trying to explain to Harley.
But it doesn't bother me.
No one cares if you almost won a game. You
No,
didn't
yeah,
win.
but I said we went to France. We got a losing bonus point, which is more than I would have expected at the start of the season.
Yeah, that's brilliant. But you
So
can't.
there we
But
go.
then what
I'm
my
glad
problem
you
is,
agree,
Scarlets fans are
James.
coming out saying that, oh, we have this moral victory. No, you didn't. You lost.
I'm glad that you can see that Scarlett's played well, James. I'm
Yeah,
glad that
I'm
you've
not going
grown
to
as a
deny that
person.
because I actually
There we
watched the
go.
pissing
So
game. You lot
yeah,
didn't.
no, I sat with a face pack on watching Strictly. So
No, I don't know why, because this game was on at 1 o'clock.
it was
Hey, it was a
What I-
full spa
what
day
I'm-
set of treatments, all
Yeah.
right?
it
So we
was
had to,
it
you know, we
was
had to
So
start early.
just
there were
because
nails.
Lee's not letting me talk
There were
in my bit.
pedicures.
So what I was Nadia McDood, which was the or McDowd, however you want to say it, the Bayern player, has set the record for defenders beaten in a single game. So he's beat 22 defenders, which is a mental stat. Scarlets did defend really well. They made, whatever was it, 200 odd tackles. I think their back five alone made 100 tackles. They did defend really, really well. Bayon's video analysis session this week it should be alongside just be someone kicking themselves, because that it was some really good defense from, you saw the Ellis Me hold up, and it was really good. But what Scarlets are really lacking is game managers. Yohan Lloyd's brilliant, but you haven't got anyone to bring on. Evan Jones, right, with love and respect to the man, couldn't control a conversation.
No, and that's what I say. We've got areas where we've improved the depth, and there are areas where we're
Yeah.
still lacking depth. And
But
it will come.
it will
when
come.
when
Bayonne are
you
doing it very illegally, but there was a lot of power coming through that scrum, and Scarlett struggled to hold that, I think, and that'll be a concern going into Black Lion on Sunday.
Well, we'll talk about Black Lion later because there is, a fair bit of edge on Black Lion. So let's talk about Lyon and Cardiff. So Harley, do you want to talk us through how you paid for it to watch that game? Maybe give James a couple of tips there on how you pay to watch a game, and then talk us through the game.
I'm not gonna get started on that one because of how I actually did watch the game. I used the Cardiff Central Pod account account for the EPCR TV. So it came from the pod. Thank you, Dan. So I watched that this afternoon. Haven't only really seen highlights and just James's running commentary because he's paid the best part of €16 to watch two games he purportedly hates watching. So just looking on stats, the only thing that I could see that was a big issue for Cardiff was 14 penalties to 4. So that, just giving me lots of field possession, but things like we had better tackle success, better carries, better thing. Watching the game, I think it's just the same old issue with Cardiff. We just got overpowered, and then that just led to penalties. It's not to say they weren't dumb penalties, like right towards the end, Alex Mann charging in when Gabe Henway got tackled, that got pushed out into touch. There's no need for him to go flying in there. That wasn't great. But you're just looking, and it's just the same old things I was saying last season, with things like we do really well to retake the lead, go back, go 26-24 up, and then we completely spaff the kickoff. And Leon through under the post, another thing. Contrast that to when Leon scored their third try. We kick to them. Niniashvili gives a huge clearance, and we're defending a line out in our own half, and then we fuck the line out, which again is another constant theme for Cardiff. So it was quite good. I mean, Stefan Manuel looked, I'm going to say what he was before all the jokes of rugby Jesus come in. He looked like what he was, which is a promising 18-year-old. Like, there was no more, no less. He still missed 4 tackles. He still gave away a few turnovers. He had some nice hands in defence. You can see there's a player there. But let's be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that Roy Jennings was injured, he would not be anywhere near that game. It's basically just an injury. And as James suggested, we chose to play Ben Thomas for the derby and the focus on the league. And we went for slightly more rotation for this game. Overall, happy. I thought the way we came back in was great, but I'm a bit fed up with Cardiff for going to sleep and then coming back into games? Like, can we just have that level throughout? I think that's comprehensive of everything. I'm sure James has plenty of other points.
Yeah, because none of the rest of us watched it, James, and I think you said that you watched all 4 games.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, you did. I thought you did.
Yeah.
Go on then.
No. The what they're referring to is there was a suggestion in the WhatsApp earlier that we not do tonight because no fuckers watched any of the games, and I was like, I did not sit through 4 games of this shit. Right,
No
where I could have
one
been
made
watching.
you watch the other teams.
Could have been
The only thing
watching
that's
proper
expected
rugby
you is to watch
teams.
the Ospreys.
I watched this while building a crib for my son, and I found the crib less frustrating than Cardiff.
I'm not gonna lie, you're not gonna be the first person on this pod to have had the same realization of assembling baby stuff and being less frustrating.
It was.
Was it an IKEA one?
No.
Okay, fair
His
enough.
mistake, they're great.
It was a different one. Cardiff. It's weird to say they didn't throw that away because they never ever looked like winning. They just looked like scoring. That was the difference. Is that they looked really good at scoring, but they never once convinced me that they were going to win. Every time they scored, Leon just sort of went, "Oh, okay." Then we'll score. What did surprise me is that Leon had never beaten Cardiff before.
Yeah. I only found that out after watching the game. I was like, oh.
Yeah. So, the lineup would be a concern. I think, the penalties. I don't know statistics on who gave away what. I just think there's a lot for Cardiff to clean up, but they've got the perfect game to do so this weekend. But it has become a must. You've got to get 5 points from this. If you don't get 5 points from this, you give it. It's really hard to go there and get a home knockout. I think you need. I think you need about 11 points for a home knockout minimum.
Yeah.
So you need 5. 5 from 10 from 2 at home, and then you need at least 1 from away, which they got. Steph Manuel was fine. He was absolutely fine.
This is what I was saying.
Let's calm down.
Played like
people.
what he was.
Let's calm down.
Do we need to suggest that? Do we need to even consider who it is saying how amazing this kid is?
The Pontcanna Mafia.
I mean, it's like every week. Let's find someone that is having a decent game and needs a bit more game time.
Well, the other one we could have suggested.
You had it from the Ospreys with Dan Edwards as well.
No, but the main one this week has been that Llandovery kid. Right?
That too.
Yeah.
The Llandovery kid is a very, very good player at that level, right? Let's not run before we can walk. Let the kid breathe, right? Chris Edwards just said to Steph Emanuel, who said this was how many young players now. Let's stop hyping them up to a level that they're not at yet, right? There are very few players who get hyped up who live up to that level, right? Very, very few, okay? Let's stop building kids up to them when they make the inevitable mistake that they're going to make because they are children, then their confidence comes crashing down, right? Look at what's happened to Costello, okay? Costello is a fine regional player, right? But has got built up so much that he's this linchpin, he's all this now, and he's getting absolutely fucking hounded in the media, right? This is what's happening. We need to stop hyping players up to a level whether they come crashing down, they're going to crash down hard, right?
That's the problem. The Welsh media are terrible for this, aren't they?
Steph Emanuel is a fine player.
It is not just Welsh. It's as rugby media in general, because there's the same issues with Sam.
Carwyn Leggett-Jones is a fine player. Dan Edwards is a fine player, right? They are good players at the level they're at. They are not rugby G. Like, I see people comparing Dan Edwards to Jiffy, right? Because he did a couple of sidesteps in his classy. Like, come on, lads, right? Stop.
I just want to add in, Dan Edwards is already a much better player for the modern game than Jiffy ever was. Because for a start, he can kick tactically.
And played in the modern game. You
and
know,
actually played a modern game. Let's be
Or we
fair.
end up
Yeah,
somewhere
the same issue with Sam
completely bizarre.
Pendergast and Jack Crowley at Ireland. We all they all do it. It's just
yeah.
it is just
No
frustrating.
one. There's no. No. I'm still going. There's no jealousy of the fact that Carwyn Leggett Jones comes. I don't care, right? There are good schoolboy players in Swansea, Neatham, Talbot, right? They just don't. We don't have a Llandovery College, right? That's all that is, right?
Well,
But
Llandovery is
what?
Ospreys, mate. Half of the boys in Llandovery are Ospreys.
Yeah, but very few
Yeah.
come back
So,
through to that pathway. Then
Yeah,
but
you got
you'll
Jack
find
Morgan.
that
That's about it.
most of the boys in Llandovery are
yes,
Ospreys with a smattering of Scarlets, but
and
the
then who
Scarlets
comes
boys
back through? We very rarely have anyone coming back through. Anyway, what my point is, we need to stop hyping players up that may not make it, right? This is all I'm saying is they are kids, right? I work with young people, I work with young athletes as well, right? It is detrimental to people, right? If someone gets hyped up before they are ready and it comes crashing down, it can destroy people,
We
right?
could do
So
a
if,
15 of these of this
yeah,
of players who've been
but
hyped up and then not
yeah, it's
being able
every
to live
week
up to
though.
the hype.
yeah,
It's every week, and they're either talking about here's the next big front five, or here's five players to watch, or then there's the let's drop a region, and then there's the mergers, and they rotate the same stories
yeah,
over,
everyone knows it.
like we said last week. It's all clickbait, and I don't think it's the rugby media. It's the fact they've got to compete against the football media, and there just isn't enough news going on in rugby media to justify having a daily. Yeah, I think you've got to put out like 3 news posts a day. Yeah. And you're like, there isn't enough news in Welsh rugby, even when the WRU are on one of their let's fuck everything up runs. There isn't enough news for 3 interesting posts every day about rugby. So
Well, look at
you've got to
the
find
last few
something.
days of the Wales Online headline. Tell me how many of those stories have actually anything to do with Welsh rugby. One of them's was it? They've been talking more about Stuart Hogg than like
And
even like
Zammit,
we say the flooded clubs after all the storms, like which
yeah.
would actually be useful news.
Reece Zammit, who isn't even playing rugby anymore, has had more coverage over the last kind of 3 or 4 months than probably the Dragons and how to solve the issues at the Dragons. Anyway, let's move on to the undoubted game of the week, where the Ospreys finally managed to put some points on the board and win. So, James, hang on. So before this, did anyone else actually watch this game?
I
Okay,
was dealing with a little one at the time, but I did watch bits and pieces. I've got a
so I'm
general
on.
vibe,
Okay, you got a vibe. Okay,
but obviously
James,
James goes first.
all yours.
Slow start as always, but good game in the end. Thought semi-entertaining to watch. Lions basically with a Curry Cup team with a smattering of quality in there. I was more frightened than I thought because, like I say, a lot of these guys come up from the Curry Cup, which is a good standard of rugby, point to prove, with the likes of Rabs Maxwani in there, low, different players. So I thought, we're low on confidence. I said it could be a game. I expected a win, but I didn't think it'd be comfortable. And I was proven right at the start. Discipline was minging. Whatever pre-workout Harry Deeves has sniffed pre-game clearly was going to his head because he was body slamming people and yeah. So he gave away a few penalties. So they score off the maul. We then go down the other end. We do play some. We put the ball really wide this game, so we remembered we had wingers and backs, right? So it went past 13 quite a bit, and we were finding a lot of joy outside of the Lions 13 channel. So exploited that quite a bit. Got down their end. They gave away a cynical penalty, which resulted in a yellow card, which I think is a yellow card every day of the week. Personally, I think the way the ball came out of the ruck, he clearly just swiped it out. Score off a Jack Morgan pick and go. So yeah, Jack Morgan, in a man of the match effort, scored. We go in 13-7, a very shaky game. Like Owen Williams was having a tough old game at 10. I think Hardy really struggled to settle in. And then post halftime, we come up the block firing. So we go over in the 44th minute with Giles. Lovely score. You get him in a one-on-one. He's deadly from that position. Dan Edwards is on at this point. He makes a difference. So he slots into 10. Owen Williams to 12. We've got 3 10s on the pitch. And
That's what it
then
takes you to score a bonus point.
yeah, Kieran Hardy with an interception. And then we went into a bit of a lull. We chased that fourth try a bit too hard. So we had that one disallowed one, which I didn't even know what happened at that point. It was just a fucking disgrace by all involved. And then, yeah, we go and get the bonus point try in the 79th minute. Brilliant pressure from Jack Morgan, forces a turnover. Luke Davis picks it up, hits Dan Edwards on the line, and 2 side steps and a hello nurse. So yeah, it was a slow start, but I think a really good finish. Will do really good things for the confidence of the Ospreys. Some really good individual performances. Like I said, Jack Morgan, Owen Williams when he shifted to 12. Keelan Giles had a really good game. He was winning aerial battles. He's making his tackles. He's really finding the form he had pre-injury. I thought Kieran Hardy grew into the game. I still think he's probably got a bit more to catch up on, but I thought he kicked really well in a properly swirling wind. Yeah, and then of course there's the sort of big thanks to the Scarlets for allowing us to play the game. So for those who don't know, the game was played at Park Scarlets. The call was made the day before after Swansea.com Stadium suffered structural damage to the roof, I believe, which meant the game wasn't playable. The Ospreys consulted St Helens and the Dunraven Brewery Field, but for obvious reasons, both wouldn't have been able to house fans. So the potential for the game could have been played, but fans wouldn't have been able to be in attendance. So they asked the Scarlets. Scarlets are really accommodating, and we managed to get the game on at Parker Scarlets. So yeah, big thanks to them. I've heard as a thank you that the Ospreys have invited all staff from Parker Scarlets who were involved in making the game happen, and their families as guests to the Swansea.com for the
Nice.
West Wales derby.
It's very nice of them.
So yeah,
Really classy.
make your jokes about doubling the attendance in the comments. I don't care, but it's a genuinely nice thing to do. And Lance Bradley has been very vocal online, saying how well the likes of John Daniels, Simon Mudarak have been in cooperation. So yeah, I thought the game was good. Just nice to get a win. It was quite low coming out of Zebra, but then it sort of come away with a win here was nice.
Not taken away from the Ospreys. Genuinely, what's happened to the Lions as they started the season?
They sent 12 players.
Absolutely.
This was as James said, he was saying it slightly clearly, but he wasn't. This is the Curry Cup. They've basically gone for beating. I think they're throwing this game away to focus on.
Right.
I think when you're a team squad like the Lions, they're much like the Welsh regions where they've got a much smaller squad than the other South African sides, a lot less money to play with. So for them, they want to focus. If they're going to focus on the league, maybe it's almost the French system, which isn't actually that terrible an idea. You focus on your home games and your league.
This is the end of a long.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that the Ospreys still had to go out and score these tries.
You play what's in front of you, but from a Lions point of view, they'd started the season so well. I think that's their 3rd loss on the bounce. So that was my kind of question: is how.
It's the end of a long tour. They sent 12 players home. You've got Curry Cup players who are playing a step up in level, who are out there to prove a point. They're out there to not only try and win the game, right, but they're also out there to try and make the senior squad full time. Do you know what I mean? And you've still got a smattering. You've got Rabs Maxwane, who was averaging a try an appearance this year. He was pretty poor, but there was still some really good players out there. that Curry Cup level, and exposing them at this level will only. It's only good in the long. It's good in the long run for them.
Oh, okay. So while Jamie has a couple of minutes to
I
compose
was going to say,
himself,
I
do
don't know if you
his
want
makeup.
my actual
I'm
vibe.
Jamie, you watched the game, didn't you?
I saw some of it, yeah. Tricky start for the Ospreys, wasn't it? Their discipline was really poor.
Yeah.
But yeah, fair play. I think the second half, they really came into it. And I thought Jack Morgan was excellent, in fairness. Yeah, it was a good win. And they're top of the pool now, 5 points. Perfect start, really, isn't it? Because Dragons are in the same pool as the Ospreys. They won't be playing each other, but yes, it's a good start for them.
Yeah, but you're both playing the exact same 4 teams, aren't you? So it's a good
We are. We're
comparison
just
of
not
where you
playing
are.
Ospreys. Yeah.
In the 5-team pool, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Confusing as hell. Sometimes you look at it and you go, let's take a perfectly simple competition and try to make it really confusing. It's not as confusing as last year,
don't get me
but it's
started on the
still,
format. It's absolutely
yeah,
batshit.
it's ridiculous.
I was just going to say for that game, for me, I just to echo the other ones, I thought it was a really shaky first 20, 25 minutes, but I feel like the longer the game went on, the more I was confident that the Ospreys were going to just walk through it. I think the lines just came out really fast and exuberant, and that sort of took me by surprise. One thing I do notice, I know we've just had the conversation about not digging up young players, but for me, I just want to know your opinion on it, James. For you, is Dan Edwards higher up on the ranking than Owen Williams now? Because for me, Owen Williams is just he just seems to be in an absolute mire. I don't know if it's just because he's getting old or the fact that, I mean, to be honest, I've never really rated him much as a 10 anyway. I've always thought he was better as a 12. But for me, Dan Edwards just looks so assured that at least at this level, I'm not saying that, you should be starting him every game, whatever, but it just seems.
Yes. Yeah,
I
you
feel
were
like
right.
the Ospreys play better when he's in control.
So Dan Edwards has, over the summer, silently become our most important player. So pre Wales camp, he was one of the 3 that were invited to go and train, but couldn't because he had a concussion. And quite a bad one. I think I don't think he's had many concussions before. He's had, I think, a couple of failed HIAs. So I think they're really wary of how they manage him in that sense. So he didn't play against Zebra last week because they wanted him fully fit for this week, and they're trying to ease him back in. I think with Owen Williams, right, if you watch the documentary series, you see how respected Owen Williams is as a player and a leader. He's a really popular member of the squad. He's also probably one of the hardest working players of that squad. So he puts in so many extra hours, and this has come from the horse's mouth. It's come from the Ospreys themselves, right? He's out there all the time putting in extra work. He's just a confidence player. He's a bit like Gav in the fact that you've got to tell him he looks good, he smells good, so that he plays good. And I think that shift to 12 really helped him because it takes a bit of the pressure off him. So you bring Dan Edwards on, who takes the ball to the line a bit more. But then it allows Owen Williams to play a bit more wide, which he likes. He likes putting in them wide passes and having someone like Walsh at 15 then who can take the pressure off. Yeah, so he has become slowly our best player. I don't think Owen Williams is a bad player. I just don't think his future is at 10.
Yeah, I said it's not I'm saying bad. I'm just saying he
No.
doesn't. The
I think
Ospreys just
that's
don't look
where
the
he is.
same. That's all.
Let's move on then to this week's fixtures. But before we do, if you like what you are hearing and seeing, please do rate, share, and subscribe to us and the various channels that we are available on, growing weekly. Just keep an eye on our socials for the coming week. We've got the Osprey Scarlets competition live at the minute on Tuesday evening. I'm wanting to say evening, so Tuesday evening at some point we will be launching Scarlet's competition for Black Lion tickets, and we've got various other competitions coming over the festive period. So keep an eye on our socials; they will all be on there. They'll be on our feeder pods as well. And a big thank you to all of the Welsh regions, apart from Cardiff, who've been very generous with this. I'm sure they will.
In their defence, we haven't asked. That's on us. We haven't even
I'm
asked.
sure they will.
Thing is, we
yeah.
don't need help selling out selling out caps. So
Anyway, keep your eye on our socials for various competitions coming over the festive period. Win tickets here, there, and everywhere. Lovely jubbly. Right, let's quickly go through predictions for this weekend then. So you give me your team, what you think the game's going to go like, and what your prediction is for your team. So first one up, Friday night game is Edinburgh Bayonne, and then on Saturday at 1 o'clock, James, we've got Montpellier against Ospreys. So how's it going to go, and what's your prediction?
So Ospreys are in a bit of a dilemma here. So we've got a 6-day turnaround to Montpellier. The boys aren't in today, or haven't been in today, I should say. So you go big, right? And actually, it may be a case of we may not be in the position to not go big. So you either go big, try and get points at Montpellier. I mean, we've won there before, against their A team. Let's not forget that. That wasn't too long ago. Or you rest the players ready for the West Wales derby. So either way, Ospreys have got a decision to make. I think Montpellier, if they put that team out they did on Friday, it's a very beatable team. I don't think they will. I think they will go a bit stronger. They tend to at home. They're not going too well in the league this year. They're 4 from 7. They sit towards the bottom, but they're still loaded with talent in the whole squad. I think Montpellier will win, but I only think they'll win by like 5.
Okay. Montpellier by 5. Okay. So other interesting game then on Saturday is Van versus Gloucester. I just think that's going to be an interesting one to watch. I don't know why. Sometimes you get a feel for it. It is out in Van, so going to be an interesting one. Then we come to the 8 o'clock kickoff. Cardiff hosting Cheetahs. Harley, thoughts on that one?
So I think we've got a pretty good record against the Cheetahs from back in the Pro 14 day, particularly at Cap. And now they're sort of a Curry Cup size of a few sides. I think we've got to be careful around set piece time, as always. They may be a Curry Cup South African side, but they're still a South African side, so they're not going to be mugs at scrum time. I think we'll see a few more of our first choice players rotated in. So you might see the likes of Domchowski and Azarati coming back. Ben Thomas, depending on how much rest they're going to go. As was pointed out earlier in the pod, this is a must win for Cardiff to maintain European things. We need that 5 points. Picking one up at Leon when really probably should have gotten 2. For me, I think Cardiff by 8, but yeah, I can see this being a proper pull your hair out game. But it's quite nice because this one is actually live on S4C. So we're actually getting free-to-air coverage for the first time in months.
Let's not start that one again. Okay, so you're the final game on Saturday. So we've got 3 games on Sunday this week. First one is Scarlet's Black Lion, which is a 1 o'clock kickoff, which is a bizarre time for a kickoff on a Sunday, but it's a Sunday game. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of issues left over from last season's defeat. There's, we knew we were going to go big and put full strength sides out at home and hope to pick something up away. We've picked something up away. We picked a point up away. So it's time to pick everything up at home. Black Lion beat Van, and that's the scary bit for me, is that they aren't, they're not in there to make up the numbers. They aren't in there as a development side now. They're proper competing, and I think the Scarlets will take them. I think the way we've been playing, we pushed a lot of very, very good sides close. We get the mentality right in that first 40. I think the bonus point will be on the board by half time, and we can kind of relax a little bit more. But it's Black Lion, and there's such an unknown entity. We know bits about them. We know probably a bit more now, but they're still largely unknown. So it's going to be an interesting game. But I still see us coming out with 5 points out of this one on the weekend, or full points. So I'll go Scarlets by 15 on that one. And then I keep everything crossed and hope that we don't fuck it up. So, talking of fucking things up, Jamie, I know that you're.
Let's come on to the Dragons.
Yes. I know that I was going to say you were a little bit nervous about this game, but you're away in Newcastle. It's 3:15. I mean, you've got the TV schedules to yourself. No one else is playing. You're the last game on. So, Newcastle versus Dragons. A classic to finish the weekend off, do you think?
Well, the question is, am I going to pay £6.63 to watch this game? Am I daft enough to do that? And the answer is yes, I probably am.
Just watch the game. No one said anything about paying. Just watch the game.
No comment to that. This is shit or bust for the Dragons. I think if they got any chance at all of making the knockout stage, they go win this game. It's as simple as that. The problem is we're low on confidence. We're low on form. Our away record is terrible. We didn't win a single away game last season. Newcastle, I think, in fairness, Steve Diamond is starting to turn them around now. You know, they recently beat Saracens. They played Poe away on Sunday and they lost 32-19. Newcastle actually took the lead 3 times in that game and they lost thanks to a last-minute try, which took the bonus point away from them as well. I think they're going to go full strength on Sunday. I think this is a game they're going to target. I think we'll go full strength as well. I think we should go full strength. I've seen a lot of supporters' comments complaining that we didn't go full strength on Friday, but bear in mind it was a 6-day turnaround, so I can understand why changes were made. But it's quite simple. If you want to salvage the season, if you want to get any form, any momentum going, this is a must-win. The problem is I just don't have any faith or confidence right now in this Dragons team to suggest that they're going to pick up a win in Newcastle. So I'm going to go with Newcastle by 8.
We were discussing this last week when you weren't here. This is why you're top of all of our prediction leagues, because the rest of us go, do you know what? I think this is the week for the Dragons. We're all quite positive about the Dragons turning it around, and this is a Dragons week, and you just go, nah, fuck it. That's why you're top.
Yeah, but I'm right though, aren't I? You joke about it, but I'm right. I'm always right in my predictions. I said Lyon would beat Cardiff, I was right. I said Ospreys would win, I was right. I've been right on all my predictions. And when you look at the Dragons, you've said yourself they're low on form, they're low on confidence. I can't see how they're going to get a win against a resurgent Newcastle team. I love to be proved wrong, but I just can't see it.
We ought to do something to when Dragons do turn it around. We ought to do something special to celebrate.
Mind you, these are 2 very similar teams, though, aren't they? Because both of them struggle with the concept of winning. You know, they both got very talented players. They've got a good crop of youngsters. So these are actually 2 evenly matched teams. And I suppose it is a winnable game, but I just don't have any faith or confidence in this Dragons team right now because I don't think they've got the belief that they can win either.
Okay. And on that note, we should review the Dragons earlier in, so we don't finish on a downer. We should turn that one around. Right. Okay. So we have one more week of European rugby, and then we are back into proper rugby where it all gets serious and tasty for the Welsh derbies over Christmas. I'm looking forward to that one already. Don't forget our competition. Enter the competition. Winner gets a chance to come on the pod and have a chat before the game, and put some predictions out there and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, stay in touch with that one. And other than that, gents, I don't think we've got anything else to discuss. I think we're all done and dusted. Going, gone. Enjoy your rugby, gents. I shall see you next week. All the very best. Toodle pips.
Hello, everyone.